Welcome back to the Oscar Project Podcast, the show where I discuss Oscar-nominated films year by year. I am your host, Jonathan Eterberg, and today I'm bringing you an interview with Sarah Goeke and Julia Sears, writer and director of the web series Forked. Before I jump into the interview, please be sure to subscribe to the show in your podcast player so you can get all the newest episodes as soon as they are released. If you like the interview and want to hear more, please consider leaving a rating and review in Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Sarah Goeke is an actor, writer, and director originally from Missouri, currently living and working in New York City. She recently starred in a feature film And Through the Portal We Go, which recently screened at the Phoenix Film Festival. Julia Sears is a multidisciplinary storyteller who creates fantastical and value-driven work with a focus on gender, reinvention, and community healing. Her directing work has been seen on stage around the U.S. since 2010, and she has worked with various artistic justice and community-oriented organizations over the past 17 years. They join me on the podcast to talk about their recent collaboration on the web series Forked, which looks at a woman recovering from the purity culture of the Bible Belt through sobriety and dragon fantasy erotica. Sarah and Julie, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
Hi, thank you so much for having us.
Well, Sarah, I want to start with a couple questions about And Through the Portal We Go. I just had Mike and Allison Hayhurst on the podcast recently talking about the film and really loved hearing their stories about making that film. As an actor in that production, what were some of the challenges of a time loop film like that one?
Yeah, Mike and Moy are amazing. Love them so much. They're executive producers of Forks. Obsessed with them. The challenges of the time loop were not too bad for me. I think the challenges of the time loop were worse, way worse for Mike, the director. So I really, at first I came and I was like, so wait, what just happened? What? And then we're going into what shot? Like, because we were shooting out each location. We weren't doing it in terms of how it would actually progress in the movie. We had like 9 days. And so we would be like, he'd be like, okay, if he's British and he has this very calming voice, he'd be like, all right, so, and he just would like kind of coach me through what just happened. And so by like day 2, I was like, Mike's got it. Mike's got it. I'm just going to show up and try to go with the flow and like whatever Mike gives me, I'm just going to trust, because it was too much to try to contain the entire story that we were telling, like the entire movie. And I just got to a point where I was like, Mike knows exactly what's going on. He knows what he needs to get. And so the first day I was very nervous. By the second day I was like, Mike, what's good? Like, what do you think? Like it became much smoother and easier.
That's awesome. And obviously you were one of the 3 main actors in the film, really just the 3 of you kind of working together throughout that whole film. What was it like relying on those 2 other people? Well, in addition to obviously Mike, the director, in telling that story.
Honestly, very easy. It's a funny, like, and I didn't even think of it that way. It's like you don't really have anybody else, but it was still sort of during COVID. So they wanted to keep the team super tight, and they're such funny, awesome people. It was so much fun. It was so easy. And we did some work before the film to sort of get into an understanding of the characters and the story and the world and the lowercase cult that we were in this film. And so we got to set and it felt like I'd known them forever. We first day, it was so easy to just like pop into these characters and sort of, they highlighted things about my character. It brought out more, the character I played is very type A and very worried about being correct. If you listen to that interview, it's about these people who are left behind. Everybody else in the cult has transcended through a portal in the woods. Don't we wish we had a portal in the woods now? Doesn't that sound great? Wow.
It would be
I wish
nice,
I
yeah.
had a portal in the woods.
Let's go.
And these 3 people are left behind and they're trying to get it right in order to be able to transcend. And my character's very type A, very like strict and like no nonsense and like, let's get it right. And the other 2 characters are so fun and like easy and like soft. And it really brought out the sharpness of the character. And it was really fun to play against them. It was awesome. I would do it again in a heartbeat. It was beautiful.
That sounds like fun. One more on Through the Portal. When I had Mike and Moy on, we talked a bit about the costumes. Did you at all get sick of wearing purple, since that was all that you got to wear on that shoot?
Not at all. It was like wearing your favorite pair of cozy home clothes. Like the pants were, I wanted the pants more than anything else. I had these dark navy pants that were like really nice and like loose and comfy. And I was like, can I please have these pants? And she was like, no. and I love you, but no. And then we did have to do a reshoot, so I'm glad that she kept the pants because we used it again. But no, Marcy Mars did an incredible job of building our costumes in a way that was like a believable set of everyday clothing that these people would wear in this cult, but also feels very like brought together. Like everybody looks like they belong in the same story, even though, she was pulling from like our closets, Goodwill, she was dyeing clothes. Like she really made it work. And I loved wearing that costume. When I got to put it back on for a reshoot, the 1-day reshoot that we did, I was like, it's like coming home.
That's awesome. Well, I want to shift over to Forked a little bit, and I understand this one is a bit of a personal story. Where did the idea come from to make this web series?
Well, it came from my life. So I am from the Bible Belt. I'm from Missouri. I did have a purity ring growing up. I am now sober, and I also have narrated dragon fantasy erotica. Thank you. So it came from wanting to tell the story. Came from realizing that a lot of people actually share this story, not necessarily the specific, not from Missouri, maybe not, but the evolution of being some sort of form of repression, using alcohol in order to be free of that repression, and then needing to get rid of the alcohol and having to rediscover their sexuality without that lubrication of alcohol. I think it's a very specifically female, or people raised as female story. And so it really came from just wanting to make it wanting to weave it all together so people could see it as opposed to it just feeling invisible. It feels like it's just such a common thing that it's sort of invisible.
Yeah, and so you have some really great actors in this piece. Obviously the character you're playing. We meet her parents, her sister. What was it like trying to cast some of those characters in such a personal story that I imagine some of those characters are, like you said, a bit based on your own personal experience?
Yeah. So the person who plays my sister is my friend Shelby, who is we're obviously very close, and we happen to sort of have similar and we look a lot alike. And what somebody recently told me is like, it's not just that you look a lot alike, it's that you have the vibe of somebody who you have a long history, and we have known each other for almost 10 years. So we have quite a long history. And the parents were people that I knew of, and I met them once or twice, and I was like, I just know that they would be really great at this. It was very instinctual, and it was also very much like I knew I wanted to shoot someplace that felt more Midwestern. So I am familiar with Pittsburgh because I've done a couple plays there through City Theater, who they're amazing. They also really helped with Forked a lot. And they happen to live in Pittsburgh. And so it just sort of was like when I was trying to align the stars to make Forked happen, they were enthusiastic about the script and really interested. And so we moved forward with them. A lot of the people that were involved in Fork are just people that I know happen to be wildly talented, and happen to be available for this. So it's kind of a family piece.
And it's actually a full family affair because
Yeah.
the folks who play mom and dad are Greg and Lori Lahane, who are a married couple in real life.
Oh, really?
And you can tell in the piece. And then their son, actually, who Sarah met them through, Nick Lahane, is an incredible puppeteer who is the puppeteer in episode 5 of Forked, where we see our dragon puppet for the first time. So he has a little cameo as well.
That's awesome. Keeping it all in the family.
Exactly.
Well, you mentioned that puppet scene. There's obviously several distinct set pieces in the film. You've got the reality world where the family's interacting. You've got the fantasy world of the dragon erotica that she's in, and then that dream sequence with the puppet. What was it like trying to piece all these different worlds together and keep them straight?
I think a lot of that had to do with sort of when the piece was able to come out of Sarah's brain and be in communication with me, the other director, our DP, Angelica, the other artists on set, because we were sort of creating what is an interior world for Forked. We talked a lot about the character. So the lead character in Forked is named Forked. So for saying that, that's why. We talked a lot about her being sort of a dragon awakening, her sexuality, her sort of full personhood, being able to marry all of these different parts of herself together as this story of sort of a dragon that's been brewing underground and is finally able to awake and sort of fly away at the end of the series. And so that was our guiding idea behind each of the different worlds. So even if we're in Missouri, we're thinking about how the shots, the angles, like what are we seeing from her? Are we on steady cam when we're just on forked and then on stable, camera when we're far away, seeing the rest of the piece? And then, of course, when we have this larger than life fantasy sequence when she's in the dream world, how is that different? How does the texture of that feel different versus then what ended up being a pickup later, months later, which are the fantasy shots where Sarah is in sort of the full peasant girl going into the dragon cave garb, and those have, again, a different texture, a different feel because that's the fully realized version of this, like, free, erotic, and fully possessed self that she's working towards.
Yeah, and obviously the series tackles some serious questions about, those family relationships and how she's dealing with, that not necessarily acceptance of her family, of what she's doing with her life. But then you also manage to sprinkle in some really funny moments as well throughout. How did you go about finding that balance between those serious moments and also making sure that there's that humor to balance it out?
Some of that is just impossible to avoid because Sarah is so funny. So even if it wasn't written in the script, we would have found it in the moment in the room. But I know in my experience of my own sobriety, I am sober as well, which is part of, what Sarah and I connected about over for this piece is that a lot of it, the way that you get through it is by being funny and by finding the moments of levity and the moments of joy and humor in there.
Yeah, and I think that, I'm an actor first, and something that I've always really been drawn towards and have depended on is, like, the most serious moments are usually the funniest, and the funniest moments are usually the most serious. Like, you find the drama and the comedy and the comedy and the drama just in life. That's how life works. And anybody who's been through any sort of hard thing is probably gonna have an excellent sense of humor. In like there's sayings like, "We're not a glum lot." It's true. We have a pretty good sense of humor. People who are sober and just people who have been through hard stuff.
I think one of the other things that's so fun about the comedy in the piece is, that super personal, like, thing your mom says that, Sarah's really good at pinpointing, and it feels so true for so many other people, like, always in the showings that we've had, the line where the mom looks at the 2 daughters and says, "You 2 always leave me out." It gets a huge laugh every time because I think every mom with 2 uh, femme kids is like saying that for your whole childhood, and it just feels so specific, and then that helps it feel like true for so many different people. So
Yeah, there's definitely some lines that definitely felt very real in a lot of those sequences. I also wanted to touch on the sound of the piece. There's a lot of great sound moments. Some episodes also have music playing a very important part. Tell me a little bit about how you figured out the musical selections and also the additional scoring process for any original music you guys had.
Huge shout out to our composer, Sayer Roberts. Everyone should go look him up. He was phenomenal to work with. Julie and I spent a lot of time working with him on the score and gave notes like, can it be a little bit hornier? And he was like, yes, I understand that. And I love that. And I look forward to doing that. Like, he was such a awesome person to work with and would highly suggest him to anybody who is creating a soundscape for their piece. It's phenomenal. But we also had somebody who is a sound engineer at Corner Store Studios in New York City. They were so incredible to work with. I just wanted to make sure we shouted them out major. They helped us out so much. They made it look incredible because it sounds so good. But Julia was our editing director, and so if you want to talk more about like themes and stuff like that, I'd love for you to
yeah,
do.
absolutely. So one of the things that was really delightful about working with Sarah and with other artists on this project is that because a lot of it has to do with fantasy and what is erotic to this character, we had to talk about a lot of what that actually meant because we would all come in with sort of different assumptions and different ideas about, like, oh, this is what I hear when I think of this. This is what I think of. And the sort of meeting in the middle of all of that was where the sound really came from. So it is something that is it ended up being very personal, but also something that was marrying all these different ideas of what is sensual or exciting together. And then in terms of the piece overall, we played so much with, as you mentioned before, the different worlds and what is the sound that we're hearing when we're in Missouri at the dinner table versus when we're in full fantasy world versus when we're in a dream sequence. And that is where sort of the play between the sound design and the sound and the music came in because for example at this dinner table scene, Jacob, our sound engineer, did something so brilliant by basically like upping the sound of the wine being poured and upping the sound of the soda being poured and sort of like creating this bed of like the anxiety that Fork is experiencing in that moment. And that's an episode where there's very little like music, but the sound itself is really playing into that story in the same way that then when we're in this dream sequence, the music is leading us in and out of these moments and sort of informing the audience in a subconscious or very, very conscious way. So they were both so great and we had such a blast working on it and it really added an extra texture, especially for this character who is doing erotic audiobooks, where sound and listening is such a big part of how she's able to connect to her sexuality. So it was a really wonderful part of the project.
That's great. Now, I do have a couple of questions not specifically related to the web series. Before I move on, is there anything else you want to touch on about Forked or And Through the Portal We Go?
For Forked, we are in the festival circuit. We just did a Big Apple Film Festival. We did Cinefest a few weeks ago. So if you follow Forked web series on Instagram, we'll announce where we're going to be next. I also just want to say, like, part of what I love so much about the piece and about Sarah's writing and the creation of this character is that it is incredibly multifaceted, and a lot of what we tried to do with the piece was show all of these different parts of this woman that are in the process of integrating and coming together, and I think that it is, lovely and rare to get to experience a character on multiple levels all at once, and that it's not a story about just sobriety, it's not a story just about purity culture, it's not a story just about becoming a fantasy audiobook narrator, that they really do live together, and so that I think is, a really beautiful part, so I just wanna shout out my collaborator, Sarah, who's right here because she's wonderful.
Julia. Oh, yeah, that's that yeah, thank you also for thinking about the festivals we're doing, and, yeah, it's incredible to see, like, when I wrote it, it felt very I was like, "I just don't know how this is gonna happen. I don't know how we're gonna be able to weave all these things together," and working with Julia and the other director, I mean, it's just been amazing seeing it come to life in ways that I couldn't have even thought of before when I was writing it, so it's been so amazing to get to watch it come to life and watch Julia work, and man, in the edit, man, this thing was made in the edit because we had about 3 pennies to rub together to shoot it. So we really made the best of what we had at the shoot, and Julia worked so hard to make it come to life in the edit, and I'm so grateful. It really sings now, which is, it's so beautiful. It's so much bigger than it started out, and I'm so grateful. It's really cool.
Fantastic. Well, this might be the hardest question I ask, but if you had to pick your top three films of all time, what would they be? I'll let you guys fight over who goes first.
Oh my god. Are you ready, Julia?
I am ready because this is a very difficult question, and I had lots of thoughts, and then I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna do 3 of my favorite movies. They don't have to be the best ones of all time, they're the best to me." So, I went very femme, very witchy. So, Practical Magic is one of my favorite movies. I watch it every year. I
Yeah.
think it's genuinely fantastic. The aesthetic, the, like, celebration of sisterhood. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Just, like, take your best friend or your sibling if you like them and go watch it. It's so worth it. It really holds up. And also just like the hair. I then put Drop Dead Gorgeous, sort of staying in the 90s, early aughts world. One of my favorite comedies. It again really holds up. And just Allison Janney Kirsten does just it's so funny and it's so silly and it doesn't take itself too seriously. And that is something that I really, really enjoy. And then the last one is maybe the worst movie ever made, but maybe the best movie ever made, which is Spice World. I recently rewatched it. It is so unhinged. It is so worth watching because it is the craziest thing you've ever seen, and it just makes you be like, "I can make art, do whatever I want. This is crazy. There's aliens. There's 45 plots in it. It's so insane." So, do yourself a favor, watch Spice World, just and re-engage with your childlike ability to just make things that don't always make sense.
That's really good. That's really good. Okay, these are also my favorite. I don't know if they're the best of all time. I think they're phenomenal. Top of the list is Little Miss Sunshine. I was in college during like what some might call like kind of indie film. It was becoming this beautiful, incredible thing. And Little Miss Sunshine, Sunshine Cleaners also came out around that time. But Little Miss Sunshine, I think there's still some of the best comedic moments. Greg Kinnear, I mean, yeah, it's incredible. I think it's just like one of the funniest films and most heartfelt. It's just such a great balance of like everything I love about movies. And I also like really saw my family reflected in that. I loved watching it. My sibling and I were obsessed with it. And then The Big Lebowski. I love this movie. It's like the kind of humor that I just guffaw. John Goodman being like, "You want a pinky toe? I can get you a pinky toe." I don't that is peak humor to me. Nobody messes with the Jesus. I don't know. It's just funny. Like it's just such a funny setup. I don't know. It's just like everything in that. Everybody in that is peak. It's so dry. It's so good. And then the other one is Waiting for Guffman. I've watched that so many times I can't even count. That's it's just it's beautiful. I mean, it's just amazing. Everybody in it, again, it's just like an all-star cast doing exactly what they're good at. I feel like there are 3 films that things just really came together in a beautiful ensemble way. Like, the ensemble is what makes it so good, the way that people work together. Yeah, those are my favorite.
Those are awesome. I feel like we could do a double feature of Drop Dead Gorgeous and Little Miss Sunshine, the pageant double feature.
Yes.
Now, if you could invite any 3 movie characters to your next dinner party, who would they be and why?
Julia.
Okay. So I just saw Sinners recently,
Ugh.
and I feel like I would love to have Sammy over and just not make him say anything about what happened, but just listen to the music that came out of that experience, which is clearly a part of the core of the story. So that's a big one. And then can I do television?
Go for it.
That's what I
Thank
was
you
gonna
so
ask.
much. Oh my God. I'm like, whew, okay. I feel like I would really have genuinely a great time with Devin from Severance. She plays the sister on Severance, and she's just very no nonsense in a way that I'm like, we would be actual friends in real life. And then I would love to hang out with Michelle Yeoh from Wicked because she's a stone cold bee and very evil in a way that I enjoy. And that sounds very fun to me. We're going recent for all of mine.
Perfect. I like it.
I'm also gonna cheat. I'm so sorry. I was thinking about this for so long, and I was like, I have no idea because I'm also thinking about like, well, what about the dynamics? Like, will they like each other? Like, I'm like trying to curate experience in this not real question. Like, it's no one's coming to dinner, but I was worried about the experience. Anyway, so I'm sort of cheating. The dinner that I on TV, also not even film, but the dinner on TV that I would give my left tit to be sitting at that dinner is season 2, episode 1 of Fleabag, sitting with Olivia Colman, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and Sean Clifford, um, and obviously, like, everybody else who's in that scene. That scene is one of I just think it's, like, again, height of comedy for me. That whole episode's incredible, but that dinner scene specifically is razor sharp. Love every moment of that dinner scene, and I would love to be at that dinner with those people specifically. That would be incredible.
Perfect. I like it. All everybody from one seat. I like it. Do you have any books that you could recommend that you've read recently or really enjoy? They could be fiction or nonfiction and don't necessarily have to be related to movies.
So speaking of time loops, the first one I'll recommend is called The Lilies. The full disclosure is that this was written by my sibling. It came out last year. It's a YA novel that takes place at a girls' prep school in DC, and 4 of the students there get trapped in a closet during like an emergency, and it sets off a time loop where they sort of have to reckon with both their own memories and experiences, but also sort of the institutional memory of this school and this place that they've all found themselves. It's really incredible, really moving. I cried several times, not just because my sibling wrote it. So it's called The Lilies. It's by Quinn Diacon-Furtado, and it's great. And then the other one that I'll say, speaking of sort of in the hornier genre of forked, I'm a big graphic novel person, and the one of the ones that's, just, like, really struck me in the last year, and I've recommended it over and over again. I got my local bookstore to start carrying it. It's called, Chromatic Fantasy
Ooh.
by H.A., letters H, letter A, and it is, just so beautiful, and it is about a trans man escaping from a nunnery and then sort of what happens to him after that. And it's about love and hope and also transition and all of the intensity that comes with that. And it's just a really, really gorgeous book that everybody should read.
Yeah, I wrote it down.
Good.
Yeah, that sounds exact. I mean, Nuns. That's my favorite.
You're gonna love it.
I can't wait. So mine are two queer smutty books. The first one is Big Swiss. This one was I gave it to a friend to read with a friend, and I couldn't put it down. I would have read this in 3 days to if I hadn't been waiting for my friend to also read it. It's an incredible shark wit, super dry sense of humor. It's just phenomenal. I loved every second of it. It's exactly my sense of humor. It's femme on femme. Excellent. And then this is okay. Listen, people are gonna read this and be like, Sarah's messed up, and I am a little bit. But so this is it's called Wolfsong. It's by TJ Klune. And I got it because I knew that it would, you know what I'm talking about. I got it because I was like, oh, interesting. Like, I want to know more about, I'm doing research. And it's like, it's fantasy in the genre of werewolves, which is, a la forked and dragon fantasy. But yeah, the smut in this is a little bit unhinged in a way that I was like, I'm 100% here for it, but I would not read this book in public. But that's my recommendation.
Sounds good. We'll put some links to those in the show notes so people can check them out if they're interested. And who else from the world of film or television should I have on the podcast as a guest?
I love that. Shelby Elaine Antel is getting ready to release a short. She wrote a sister short. I happen to be in it, but I also just think it's really smart writing. And it's sort of about the people that you love, but maybe you don't like all the time. It's awesome. It's shot really, really well. She worked with a great DP, and it's so I would definitely suggest Shelby. That's my suggestion.
I will shout out a creator that we just met at Big Apple Film Festival last week, named Morgan Young, who
Yes.
works in animation and made a short called Stoned for Christmas that both Sarah and I, as we were watching, just kept looking at each other going, this is so good. And so they're a lovely creator, lovely person, and I think they would be a great guest. And then, of course, the other director from Forked, Carolyn Braver, released a short called Off the Horse, which is just so fantastic and is also starting its festival circuit as well. And they were a big part of bringing this to life in the first stages and would be a great guest.
Awesome. We'll reach out to them and see if we can have any of those folks on. And lastly, you mentioned the social media for the series itself. Do you have any other projects lined up? And also, where can people follow you both individually on social media and just plug the series social media as well one more time if you could.
Yeah, we are Forked Web Series at Forked Web Series. That's where you can follow the series. I'm at SGERK Skirk.
Yes, I'm at Julia, the letter C, Sears. And I have a project in process right now called God Fruit, which is about being in the afterlife with your best friend. It is still in, post production right now, but we're hoping to hit the festival circuit next year. So you can follow me for extremely slow burn updates or just content on how to be an artist and have a life at the same time because it is challenging.
So true. And Through the Portal We Go is still in the festival circuit, which is so cool. I loved working on that film, and I love the film. It's really sweet. I'm also just working on a couple scripts, a couple shorts. I wrote and we shot one of my new genre for me, but a horror short a couple weeks ago with Emily Bennett and May Lisa Breinhardt, I think. And they, I'm going to kick myself for saying her name wrong. I'm so sorry. But they're phenomenal producer, director team. Excited to see that. That's probably going to come out soon. They're already like editing it. They're moving really fast. And also working on a feature, a wrestling feature.
I didn't know that.
Rock on. Yeah, so just a couple things in the works.
Awesome. Well, thank you both so much for the time today. Loved getting to see this with the web series and hearing some of the stories that went into making it. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for your thoughtful questions. They were really lovely, and it's such a treat to get to talk about this project with you.
Yeah, truly. This was really, really thoughtful. Really nice. Well curated.
Thank you again to my guests today, Sarah Goeke and Julia Sears. Their web series, Forked, is currently making the festival rounds, most recently at New York Cinefest and the Big Apple Film Festival. The Oscar Project podcast is written and produced by me, Jonathan Eaterberg, with editing assistance from Joshua Eaterberg. If you want more movie coverage, check out the Oscar Project online at theoscarproject.substack.com. I'll be back on Friday with Kevin Pettit to discuss the 1929 film, The Broadway Melody, and next Tuesday I'll have an interview with Ida Mellon and Laura Jane Tunbridge about their short film, Overreacting. Until then, I hope to see you at the movies.